Well, good evening. Back with another video. As you can see, I got the second printer there printing away, and now we're going to start worrying about upgrading this one, making some changes. I got some of the parts here in from AliExpress, and I have some of my stuff that I printed out. So first we'll go through the bags from AliExpress, see what I got. Stay tuned. Alright, so first thing let's take a note of, the mouse pad is clean again. So let's get into opening up a few packages. We'll rely on the Husky blade today. So first one we got, of course right in the middle of me doing something I'd get a spam call. So we'll go through the first package here. Alright, first thing we have here is some nuts to do the X4 carriage conversion. I kind of wish it had a little bit more information which these were. I think I ordered a couple different kinds. Got to remember to go leave them some positive feedback. Take a look at the second one. My blower motor. This should, looks like it'll connect up to there rather well. Not sure how that's going to stay in there yet, but I have super glue. They're not asking for feedback. A little bit heavier. Alright, so here we got some cap screws. These are M3 by 20 millimeter, M3 by 10 millimeter, and M3 by 30 millimeter. And these are all the screws that the directions call for with this X4 carriage. So good. Some screws for mounting a camera. That's not necessarily for this project, but I'm sure I'll need them somewhere along the line. I did order a GoPro. It's only a GoPro 3, but I ordered a GoPro from eBay so I can get a little bit more mobile and leave the desk easier. Alright, on to the next one. So we've got the E3D V6, or at the very least a clone, hot end. So that'll come in handy, and we'll open up that bag in a little bit. Another fan for the hot end. This should be a lot quieter than the ones I currently have on there. And I think they're starting to wear out with as much use as what they're getting. Second from last on this. Alright, washers. And these are going to be the M3 washers, so these are the M3 nuts that we had here. Some of this put away. Lastly, a bigger bag. I don't remember what this one would be. double bagged. Shrink tube. 2 sizes of shrink tube for doing the lighting. This was actually like $3. I mean, this whole order was like $28. It was all AliExpress. So this isn't for the printer upgrade, but this is more for lighting, which I'm starting to do. I want to make this year's lighting really good on the house. It's a new house, and it's going to be quite the adventure, and we'll take you along on it. Let's take a look at the parts for the hot end here. Not too shabby. I have to keep that little blue part there. So we have the heat sink, which screws off nicely. Looks like the Bowden tube will only go down to about where the screws start, so that's awesome. So this should hold up to higher temperature materials like PETG and ABS better. Not that I plan on printing ABS, but. And it came with a spare thingamabob. I'm drawing a blank as to what the name of it is. Alright, so let's get a little bit of a start on our piece. We have our little bracket for the hot end. We have our plate for the hot end. We're going to wait on doing the main carriage assembly and putting it on the printer. So let's take a look at what we got and struggle through it. So the first thing I see in the directions, which is a YouTube video, is getting my bolts in there, nuts in there. As long as I don't lose them. And of course, mine are going to be pretty tight. Alright, got the first one in. It took a little bit of extra power to put it in. And this one doesn't want to go in as easy. There. Then it's got these little spacers that you shove in there. And I had a 20, one is 12 millimeters, and then for another part it's got a 21 millimeter one. So we got those on. This part, it appears, I need to double check what my screw size is going to be for it. And when you download this, the files for it, it has a little bit of instruction in it. And I will link all of the instructions for everybody. Looks like I will be using the 20 millimeter M3 20 millimeters. And those are the 10s. Here's the 20 millimeters. Now I'm probably going to have to take some wiring off the current hot end and put it on here due to it missing, but shouldn't be too big of a deal. Actually, that fit nicely, surprisingly. Got a little bit of an issue with my size. Alright, we're going to cheat a little bit, clean up some of our holes in here. And my mouse pad was clean. Make sure we're good there. Yeah, we're going to be good there. And let's find some hex keys. Remember those? Those came with the other printer. I think we're just going to need the one, but get us a start there. Clean that up. And now both of these parts here that we're putting together with the hot end are done with PETG. So it'll last to the temperatures. Alright, actually did see that I missed something. I have got to put a couple bolts in somewhere. Nuts. Not bolts. Nuts. So it looks like we need 2 in there. Obviously my tolerances are a bit tighter. So now let's get these in. Alright, so we're actually going to start putting a fan on. And again, this is those 10 millimeter nuts, or bolts. I'll get it right one of these times, I promise. And I think we're going to use a 30 millimeter on top. Now the directions aren't very clear. I'm doing the E3D V6 with BL Touch. The actual directions look like they're for a V5. And I have not pre-installed anything, so we're kind of learning as I go. Now I did set my stuff up to come off the bottom, so I'll have to work on prettying that up. Okay, so I actually did switch the fan around so the cable is coming off the top, and I'll just zip tie that to the Bowden tube when it comes time. Now I think we got to have a 30 millimeter. Well, let's double check. Yeah, we're going to need a 30 millimeter to get this housing on. And the original instructions do have a list of parts you need to buy and then the parts you need to print, and it does have print settings. And again, that when you download the file, the instructions are there, and I'll put links to everything. So I'll pop in a couple screws. I may actually come to regret doing all this right now when I have to add the electronics. But it's a learning process. Alright, so while you were gone, or while I was gone, we started getting this a little bit ready. We got some nuts in here, preparing for assembling, because this is the main carriage. This will go on the rails. And we've got some nuts there. I'm going to go pull the filament out of the printer and let it cool down, and we'll move on. Alright, so I actually missed 3. Got one on the side here, one on the top, one on the other side. And apparently my printer is not perfectly aligned because I had to do a little bit of drilling to widen these, and they actually didn't go all the way through. But we got them in. Hopefully everything works out fine. Let's go see how hot my other printer hot end is. Alright, so we got the old hot end off. Now we're going to try and get the heater cartridge and everything out. Hopefully this works. I'm going to loosen this little set screw here. And the heater cartridge comes out. Alright, so we had the set screw there for the heater. We've got a set screw here for the thermistor. So let's get that out. get this one. The set screw stayed on my little Allen key, so let's get that back in. Let's get this set screw out. And slides right out. Now, we'll move over to this one. See what sizes we got. All right. Get them all loosened up. Now let's pop them in. Put them both in at the same time. I'm going to have to loosen this one a little bit. We got that all set up. Whoops. Getting kind of anal trying to get it straight. All right, perfect. So we're going to pop off our little clip here. I do have another red one for this, but I don't know if I'm going to use it. All right, we are set up there. Put our blue one back on. Nice and tight. We will set that aside. All right, we got the old carriage off. That was quite the process. So let's work on getting bearings out. All right, we got the bearings off and we got the electronics board off, or the circuit board. You can see things are getting kind of dusty. Yeah, these fans aren't very good fans. So that's why we got some replacements. All right, so now we got to get these in here. Again, this is going to be something I think is going to be easier said than done. And as predicted, they were not all that easy to get in, but they're in. It's a very, very, very tight fit. I'm not sure I can get them all the way down, but I think we're good with where we're at. All right, time to secure the bearings in with the 20mm bolts. So let's see. All right, so we got all the screws in. I actually had to do a little bit of adjusting with, what size was it? 15/64 drill bit, because that 20mm screw didn't quite make it down to the bolt, the nut. So I just adjusted, drilled a little bit deeper, and the screw is a little bit more inset. Now it's pretty solid in there. I also found 2 more nuts that I forgot to put in, so I popped those in. So let's see what's next on our list of things to do. All right, so the next thing we got going on is the little PCB frame. Another printed out part, printed out from PLA. And again, in a file that you can download from Thingiverse, it's in there. Oh, we're going to get this popped in. Make sure we're putting it in the right way. Yep, that's right. And then that is going to go right here on these little lips. All right, we got that built there. Now let's check out the next step. All right, our next step is installing the rear bracket. Again, another piece I made out of PETG. So let's see how well this goes in. We have our 10mm bolts again for screws. So we'll get them started. This isn't as easy as what it looked like at first when I read about it. Hard part was getting that old carriage off. And now this is the back, and that's going to be the front. So that's just kind of for orientation purposes. Let's see where we go next. All right, was a little bit ahead of my time there showing you that. So the carrier plate and the hot end go on next. Again, we're using our 10mm screws. Get that out of the way. We'll actually get this Bowden tube off again. Give us some room to work. So we'll get our screws started. All right, well, my little adjustment on this side here, I drilled a little bit too deep, so now it's full of super glue and holding rather well. I'll probably fill the hole up with some glue and still put the screw in. So let's see where we have to go to next. All right, fan duct is next. Come this way. It's got some little grooves here it lines up in, and of course we have our bolts or our nuts in there. This one actually wants us to put a washer in it. All right, we got the fan on. We've got our cables plugged in. Let's just pretty these up really quick. Still got to plug the fan cables in, but it appears I need to do a little work on this one. That's this fan. I need red. So I'm going to have to take the fan out, do a little bit of soldering. A 3-pin connector. 3 wires. I only need 2. So I got to do the red and the black together. So that'll be a tomorrow project. I think tonight we're good and we're done for now. I'll pick up tomorrow. We'll get everything put back together. Hopefully it'll go pretty easily and we'll go from there.
A few moments later.
All right, so here we are back again. We took the part fan out. We soldered the red and black wires together. I got to get some tape on them, clean them up, and then that'll get plugged in down here. I just noticed I'm going to have to take out the hot end fan and solder that together. 2 different sizes. Oh, hard to see. And then I think we're pretty much done. We'll be installing it on the machine and giving it a test run. Of course, we're going to have to zero everything back out, but no big deal.
Several days later.
All right, so we managed to get everything put back together. Got my wires zip tied up there. Fans all set up. Got the belt all tensioned up. There's actually a little piece in there and then a little clip, so it was actually really easy. Got all our screws back in, and we actually did our first test run on it, Chep Cube. Let me grab it. So we got our Chep Cube done with it, or just our calibration cube. Doesn't look too bad. I measured it out. It's actually 19.6 by 19.8 by 20. A little bit of string on there, but not too bad. No complaints there. So as you can see, I've got the new springs on there. Sorry. I've got to work on printing up a couple more knobs. I'm about to start printing another bracket for my LEDs, and then I've got some cable chains that I'm going to put back in there. So we'll get those all done, and then we'll move on to that printer. This is much quieter. Could be better. I got to change out the stepper motors.